This one tip is going to help you smash part 2 of your C1 Advanced Speaking exam. Seriously, it will. Everyone is anxious about part 2, right? Because you've got these images and you need to talk about them for a minute. And a minute is a lot of time to talk on your own. Candidates are worried. They're worried that they will run out of things to say. They're worried that they will just freeze and not know what to do. Well, relax. Seriously, in my opinion, part 2 of the C1 Advanced Speaking exam is easier than part 2 of the B2 First Speaking exam. And that's because there is so much more for you to talk about. Let me show you what I mean.
So here are our 3 images, and our questions are: how can students benefit from doing these different activities? And how helpful might the activities be in preparing them for their future lives?
We have our 3 pictures then, and we have our 2 questions. How can students benefit from doing these activities, and how helpful might the activities be in preparing them for their future lives? What I want you to do is forget about the images for a moment and instead imagine that someone asked you this question. How might students benefit from studying alone? Pause the video here and try to answer this question and see if your answer lasts more than 15 seconds. Because seriously, I guarantee that you can spend more than 15 seconds answering that question. And this is the trick. When you look at the images, don't focus on the images. Instead, focus on the concept. Let me show you what I mean.
Let's take a look at our images and replace them with words. We have studying, performing in public, and a team building exercise. Now, let us imagine we chose to focus on studying and performing. Now imagine someone asked you these questions. How can students benefit from studying? How can students benefit from performing in public? How helpful might studying be in preparing students for their future lives? How helpful might performing in public be in preparing students for their future lives? Give yourselves 15 seconds to answer each of these questions.
Are you really trying to tell me that you could not spend a minute answering these 4 questions? Of course you could! Trust me, if the examiner asked you these 4 questions in part 4 of the speaking exam, you would be smashing it. But because it's in part 2 and you've got to talk alone and there's images, people get scared. Also, taking this approach means that you're not just going to describe the pictures. And oh my goodness, that is a massive mistake, especially at the C1 Advanced level. Seriously, do not describe the pictures. Only focus on answering the questions, because you do not have the time to do both. So, let's look at another example. Try to turn the pictures into words in your head and then focus on answering the 4 questions in 1 minute.
So, the questions are: what might the people find interesting about these events? And how difficult might the events be to organise? Here are the images. We have a rock concert, a tennis match, and what looks to be a fashion show. Now try answering each of these questions. Give yourselves 15 seconds for each one. What might the people find interesting about a rock concert? What might the people find interesting about a tennis match? What might the people find interesting about a fashion show? How difficult might it be to organise a rock concert? How difficult might it be to organise a tennis match? How difficult might it be to organise a fashion show?
Now, of course, I'm not saying ignore the pictures entirely, right? The concert was outside, so don't start talking about preparation for an indoor concert because, well, that would be absurd. But the basic idea remains the same. Do not describe the pictures. Instead, focus on answering the 4 questions that you have generated in your brain. If you do need to describe the pictures to answer one of the questions, then that's okay. Just don't describe for the sake of describing, because that is not what part 2 is about, okay? Okay. And with that, we are finished. See, part 2 is nothing to be scared about, and if someone gave you those questions in part 4, you would be breathing a sigh of relief, thinking, hoo, this is really easy. So now, when you approach part 2, think in your brain, this is really easy too. If you liked the video, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, leave a comment down below. My name is Toby, and this was Smash English.